Linux Out Loud is firing up our mics, connecting those headphones as we search the community for themes to expound upon. We keep the banter friendly, the conversation somewhat on topic, and have fun doing it. This week, we're spouting off about what's missing in Linux today. Let's get into episode 83. We are short one co-host on this episode. Matt ditched us. He's busy playing some video games, but that's okay. We're going to have plenty of fun without him.
Well, I will miss him. Whenever Matt's not here, I don't get that kind of like the level of harassment that I kind of expect from week to week. And so like it's kind of, I feel a little empty, inside, a little gutted because I don't get that kind of,
Right?
love and attention from Matt.
Exactly. It's one of the ways that I know that I'm really good friends with someone is if you can have that fun, joking, teasing relationship and everybody's cool. And that's one of the things that I love about doing this show and hanging out with you guys is we all kind of have that same, no, I wouldn't say twisted sense of humor, but maybe dark sense of humor in a way. And so
Yeah.
It's just fun. Like we can sling stuff back and forth and everybody has a good laugh. And It's not quite the same when we're short one person. So hopefully it'll still be a good show. Hopefully it'll still be a fun show after all. But you've got some awesome hardware to talk about that you've got to play with in your own personal life. And now you get to bring it to work.
Yeah, so I am a fan of the framework, and I'm a little bit biased because I like the idea of being able to repair hardware as I see fit, and things like make the hardware my own. Well,
Right.
I'm an IT manager of a company, not a huge company, but a pretty decent sized one, and not quite been doing it a year yet, but we're closing in on a year now, and I get to make the hardware decisions for the organization. And as such, I'm not pushing things that are just ridiculous. Like I have an almost unhealthy obsession with the OpenSUSE project. It doesn't mean I'm pushing OpenSUSE everywhere. I'm not pushing out Debian in favor of OpenSUSE. I'm not putting OpenSUSE on anybody's desktops. There's only one OpenSUSE machine in the building, and it's mine. Actually, there's one virtual machine that's running OpenSUSE. But anyway,
Just one.
Yeah. But it made sense for this, and yeah, it works great. Anyway, so I have a need for new laptops because either they break or they age out. And how do I put this? Like the guidelines that are given to us by like our parent organization is that we have to make sure that we stay compliant with all the cybersecurity stuff. It's an insurance thing, and then we have consultants, and we have a cybersecurity outfit that does a lot of that stuff because I'm not a cybersecurity expert. I do have a tinfoil hat. And so my automatic is to just, if I don't know what it is, I turn it off because I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to risk it, but I can't do that there. So I have other fingers that are involved, but it's ultimately my call on things. And I do get a report card. So I have there's some penetration testing they're doing, looking for vulnerabilities and everything. And so I do have some work ahead of me and not a lot. Actually, really pretty small amount. So the guy who I replaced did a very excellent job of taking care of things, and so kudos to him for all the work that he did. And anyway, that said, laptops are aging out, they're failing, and people break them or whatever. And so I talking to the consultant, I said I've had a framework now for about 6 months. I love it. And the consultant says, "Wow, this is really neat. This is my next laptop." I said, "So what do you think about this for the business environment?" And he thought that's a really neat idea. When I went to Latvia for the Ubuntu Summit, I actually met one of the framework developers, and so they gave my business card, and then started a business relationship with Framework. And at this time right now, we have 6 Framework 13s that are deployed in the company. Nice. One is on order. That's a Framework 16, so it might be a little while before it shows up. And then we have 2 that are going to be ordered. I was going to order them today, but I had another issue that I had to deal with, and that was more pressing besides doing the purchase request and getting it approved. So,
right.
So 2 more are going to be ordered, and the response has been very positive overall. People like them. They're lighter. They're actually the i5, the 13th gen i5 is actually really pretty performant compared to what even the i7s of just a couple of generations ago. So that's great.
Nice.
And people really appreciate that. I'm not going to say it's all roses and puppy dogs and unicorns in this whole thing. So there has been one complaint's not the right word, but complaint. We'll just use complaint. And that was there's a lady who had an X1 Carbon. It was only a couple of years old, so it wasn't
Yeah, it wasn't an old machine.
It was an old computer. I mean, it didn't seem like something wrong with it, but it kept having these random catastrophic hardware failures that would actually shut the machine down. Couldn't get it back started. We did all the there's a key dance you can do between holding things down and putting the power cord in and everything else to kind of get the thing to boot back up. And then the BitLocker was locked out, and so did that, got it back going, failed again, and just kept kind of going through this. I'm like, so she's one of the marketing salespeople, and she's a very heavy laptop user. Cannot be without a laptop. Gave her this is like a smaller X1 Carbon. It's a really, really cute machine, thin, light, and everything else. And kind of gave her one of those, one that was kind of retired, but not totally like dead, basically. Kind of an 8th gen Intel that has been well loved, as it were. Yeah. And it kind of looked ridiculous because she's a little bit smaller, and so this computer's like the size of her. But anyway, so I got her a framework, very rapidly, and she likes the size of it and everything else. Her husband's in IT as well, and he thinks really highly of them. But we kept having an issue of the battery draining on it, and it would die. So every time she turned the thing back on, it was dead. And so that ended up being a Windows configuration issue that got sorted out. But she has expressed, she's like, it's not as good on battery life as the X1 Carbon, and I think that's unfortunate. It's like that has it's an i5, so it has the 55 watt hour battery in it. So maybe the bigger battery would be better for that computer too. If she complains again, I'll probably just order a battery and swap it out because I can.
Because you have that flexibility. Okay, she's using it for this amount of time. She needs this much screen time or whatever. So it's a benefit to go ahead and swap out those batteries. Right. And it should be pretty easy to do, right? Oh,
very easy. It'd probably take barely an inconvenience, frankly. So
awesome.
Anyway, outside of that, it's been very well received. I have had a couple of concerning things maybe relating to the framework. There have been 2 threats now of people purposefully breaking their laptops so they can get a framework. That would be the only thing.
Now that is an interesting problem for the IT department to have.
So like one of the the managers, that's one of the main managers in maintenance, and then also one of the supervisors have both threatened to break their machines. Like, so what do I have to do to get one of those? That's like break it, drop it. How bad does it have to be? And I'm like, don't. So I'm trying not to blow the budget, and but actually, ordering these Framework 13s, they're a little bit cheaper than the Lenovo's that we have been purchasing. So or ordering the Surface Books and stuff like that. So it's actually been a bit of a lesser on cost. I'm very close to the point where we might end up keeping some parts on hand. I do have some different like expansion card interfaces, like some USB-A and USB-C, because some people want more USB-C than A. And also if somebody ends up breaking one of the connectors, I want to have a replacement USB-C or A on hand as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But anyway, so yeah, it's actually, so far it's been great. I think one person wanted 2 USB-As instead of a C or something like that. And but what's also very cool is, I have one direct report. He's my IT specialist. He knows Windows machines way better than I do. And so if I have a Windows question, I go to him. He has all those answers. I would say more so a Linux guy. You could probably say maybe a little bit.
I would say so. Yeah, you're definitely more a Linux guy. Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm more comfortable in the terminal and doing, other whiz-bangetry. There's an expansion going on to the facility, and we needed another workstation. So we were very close. I didn't do it because I couldn't answer a few of the questions, and there really wasn't a lot of time. This company moves very quickly. They don't dilly-dally. So but we're going to do a framework desktop. Actually, we're going to buy a desk with a Cooler Master kit and everything. We're going to do that because then we could commonize some of the hardware. But the problem we had there was I would had to like get like some sort of a hub or dock or whatever for it in order to basically properly use it, because there's only four ports on it. So you have USB-C, USB-A, and then we need an HDMI out. And so I'm sorry, I kind of totally messed that up. I was really good, recounting what we needed, but we need to have keyboard, mouse, and they have to be wired. We'd have to have plugged into obviously power and also into the monitor. And so it's short one port unless I did a hub or something like that. And so although I could have probably done it, I just didn't feel real good about it at that time. So I ended up going with like a Lenovo ThinkCenter, and it actually ended up being about the same price anyway. So it's, it's fine. Actually, the Lenovo might have been slightly cheaper. But anyway, so I'm now actually looking at, if there was like a framework desktop that you actually would, I don't know how to better put this, but like dock it in or put in whatever that gave a full complement of ports and power in and everything else. That would actually be like for like a slim ThinkCenter like computer. That would actually be really awesome for a lot of things around this place. Like we have a lot of thin clients or very just minimal machines. We need to have, if actually we can get them behind the monitor for those workstations that have specific appliance functions. That actually would be pretty much perfect, because then we could commonize the hardware in the entire building, desktop or laptop in this case.
Right.
And, and also, but anyway, so I thought, so it almost happened, but I just didn't quite feel good about the decision I was going in. And because I want every decision I make to basically be perfect, which obviously wouldn't happen, but I want them to be perfect. I just didn't go with it at this time until something, I don't want it to be hacky, something less hacky.
Right.
I can do. So I think what I want to do is probably buy one of those Cooler Master framework setups, just, have the company to buy one for, on the company's dime and set up a test case on it. So may end up doing that. I don't know yet. All the machines are running Windows 11. That's kind of required at this point. Probably with some of them, we probably could run Linux on them that aren't doing anything with that are basically just multi-user systems that it's the same interface for multiple users. Like the receiver or the shipper.
Yeah, more of the kiosk style performance kind of thing.
Yeah, but I'm not ready to make those calls yet, because I don't feel like I would have a great solution to implement, and also to maintain some of the other cybersecurity requirements. Not because I think Linux is less secure, but because I need to make sure that whatever I do is approved by the cybersecurity team that I work with. Right. And then also I want to make sure that remote administration is not a problem. And so that's so those two things have to be, and it's definitely possible and doable. I just don't have a warm fuzzy about any of my options right now. Sorry, OpenSUSE, love ya, but I don't want to make a decision that would cause somebody else to have issues.
Right. And something that you haven't fully vetted at this point, because you're implementing it in a work environment where it's going to be getting a lot of use, and downtime is an issue. So making sure you have all of that hashed out and properly configured before you go to implement totally makes sense.
And also, like, there's basically one guy, okay, maybe two in the entire building that could very easily administer it.
Yeah.
Because it's me and somebody else maybe that I'm thinking of. But like my IT professional that I work with, he's more of a Windows guy. So do I want something else to fall on me? I'm not prepared for that at this point. So I feel like some of the support stuff isn't ready yet. But I'm going to experiment with some sort of like kiosk function with Linux. I'm just not ready to say, here, company, this is a good idea, until I've fully tested it out.
Well, I know you talked about using some Raspberry Pis for some things. So are they running a Linux whatever in those situations? Okay.
But they are literally have their, okay. One of them had some scope creep, which has been a little bit frustrating because it does mess with the automation. So it's just supposed to be up high on the wall, no interaction. You just look, you see what shipments are coming in, or what shipments are going out, and then it can be, that's how it can, so people can see it. So when the fork truck drivers or whoever's doing the shipping, it's all right there.
Right.
That's what it was. And so that's how I set it up. Now it's like, well, we kind of interact with it. Well, that machine doesn't have permission for read write into this database. It only has read permission. So of course it's going to cause you problems. And so now it might still stay a Raspberry Pi running Linux, but I might either remove one of the automations to make it so it, I don't have to worry about it logging back in because it will have somebody there manning it. But I'm not real, I don't know. We got to talk about that one, but it only has that one. It only does a one function, but like we have to talk about that internally if we're gonna change how those things work.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's not exactly. You had a job for it, and they have another job that they want it to do.
It's like we like that job. Now let's add 3 more on top of that one. Can we do it with this? Yes, but it does change some things.
Yeah, definitely.
But it can work. I can make it work. It's just that wasn't the point of the system. There's supposed to be a separate tablet or a different hand interface that you would interact with, and that would just be a display. And so I'm not sure what happened to the tablet or a secondary computer. That wasn't. It's not my project. I was just supporting it, and so I don't know. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, so you'll be able to report back on that one sometime in the future then.
Yes. I'm sure we're supposed to be implementing the same system in the other plant, but that seems to have stalled, I guess. I mean, it's working.
Put on hold. Yeah.
So my part is done. My part's doing what it needs to do, but I don't know where the full implementation hasn't happened. So it's hard for me to really observe and make educated decisions about
on it. Yeah, that makes sense.
For sure. Well, you heard my excitement about playing with computers. You're playing with robots.
I am playing with robots. So when this show comes out, it'll be the week of state. So we are in the final prep of things for the FTC team. And they've been working on this arm to gather the pixels. I shared not last episode, so this is 83, so not 82, but I think 81. I shared some video of the actual gameplay and the STL files of what those pixels look like. So if you're interested in how that game works, you can go find it there. But they had tried to gather this arm with pixels. They actually had been doing some CAD work, and they're still struggling with it. So they could pick up off the floor, but in order for their deliverer to be right on the board, so it's flat on the board, it had to be too high up. And we were missing a team member last night. Unfortunately, because it was time to make some decisions. Like, do they continue working in CAD? The one other mentor kind of worked with them. Okay, this is the angle that you're probably going to need to change it to make it all work. Or do you want to switch gears? And the 2 team members that were there decided, we're going to go ahead and switch gears. Yes, we really want to make this work, but the downside is we're really close to state. And you're in this struggle where we could make our robot absolutely perfect. We could keep going through this. We could continue to make iterations, but we're now late enough in the game that if we keep doing that, then we're not going to get any drive time. So you can have a really awesome robot, but if you're not comfortable and used to driving that robot, then it's hard for you to execute those moves. So they decided to go ahead and switch gears, and they're essentially making a push bot. So they would be really, really fantastic for a team that can pick up the pixels, because they could go forward, gather pixels, bring them back. They are potentially being scored in that back stage area. Their partner could pick them up and then deposit them on the backstage and make additional scoring points. So they right now have been playing with Kydex. I think my daughter has become the Kydex queen. She's become quite a master at measuring, bending, and forming Kydex exactly to what she needs. So they're creating a little bucket and a grabber to scoop them. That would have been finished last night, but they had some school stuff they didn't get done. And so we had to leave at like 10 o'clock. We got home at 11. Tomorrow, so tomorrow's Wednesday, we're headed back to the build room. Hopefully, it shouldn't take them too long to finish those changes, to finish building out their robot. My daughter can finish adding whatever code she needs to, and then they can start drive practice. Saturday, they have drive practice with some of the other local rookie teams, which I think is super, super important. The field is massive when you're on the field by yourself. It's really, really tight and tiny when you're on the field with 3 other robots at the same time trying to get back and forth. So just learning how that works, doing, like I said, doing that drive practice, figuring out your controls, getting consistent with that is super important. And then that last week building up to state, we'll probably be at the build room, I would say every single day. Like I've already told the people that I edit for that I am not editing the week of state, because whatever the kids need to do, whatever practice they want to do, I want to be able to be at the build room and make that happen and have the focus. So she needs to write an autonomous and all of that fun stuff for it. And so our last week before competition is pretty much dedicated to as much time as the kids feel that they need to be at the build room, we can be. So the next 2 weeks is even more robots than normal.
Well, that's exciting. So you made a, and maybe it's obvious, but I just, for those of us in the cheap seats, what is a push robot?
Okay, so in the case of the game, we've got the little pixels that they can push, or that they can pick up and deposit. If they are a push robot, instead of physically picking up the pixels and holding on to them, they're going to gather them and just push them. So they're not
like
using
a
a mechanism that picks them up. Yeah, they're just going to push them. And so that's essentially what they've done, is they've created a little scoop so that they can go forward and they don't have to rely on the human player to lay them down in a very specific order. As long as they're pretty close, they can drive up, drop their arm, scoop them into their bucket area, and then go over to the backstage, deposit them, and come and get more. So if they can have lots of drive practice over the next week and a half or so, they can get really, really fast at that and have a robot that's gathering a whole lot of points with just rapid deposit of pixels in the backstage.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's really neat. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess practice with driving. It's like, you said it's like a PlayStation controller or something like that?
Yeah, they're using a PlayStation controller. So the one that they're using right now is the Logitech version. I will drop a link to that in the show notes, the one that they're using. And they're not using that one to control speed. So they're using other buttons that are setting speed. And then they're just driving with the other stick. But it's nice because they can strafe. So that's not only going forward, back, side to side, but they can literally move in diagonals. And that control is attached to the stick. So however you move the stick is literally the direction that you are moving your robot in, which is really nice. And they've made sure that their robot is low enough that they can pretty much go through anywhere that they need to in order to be fast and efficient. So really just getting it built and then time on the field driving is what they need to be successful at this point.
Gotcha. Cool. That's neat. Yeah, it's I think I've played games, I guess, where we had like the one stick controls like motion and the other one controls like direction, whatever.
But this one's doing it all. You've got one stick that controls all of it.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and then she's got the AB whatever pad up at the top that's setting your different speeds. And then the second controller is actually going to be the one who is controlling the arm, dropping that, moving it in. And then they've also got hooks on it that they got built and placed yesterday so that they can hang in endgame. And that is 20 points all by itself. So yes, they get to hang.
Like when you shoot a hoop, you hang from the hoop kind of thing?
Yeah, so they actually, on their arm that shoots out, I'm going to have to get pictures of it tomorrow so that I can add it to this episode. Just drop them either in right here in the show notes. But, so So they've got hooks that come off of it, and they will extend an arm and then clamshell, like pull that in and clamshell their robot together, and it'll hang from a pole at the end of
That's fun.
the robot run. So just being able to have a basic autonomous and an end game will have them pretty far forward in the competition in general. Maybe I will just go ahead and drop the links to how the game works in this episode too, so you don't have to go digging for them. Maybe link the old episode. I don't know. We'll see. It's a fairly complicated game. We've got 2 large game manuals with things that you can do, you can't do, hardware you can use, whatever. But this game is definitely, there's so much strategy to it. And that's one thing that I love about these last few robot games. Even for FLL, there is a ton of strategy in how you implement those things and how you achieve those goals. So
That's neat.
now, one thing that we do know is that while we use Linux on a daily basis, it's not perfect. There isn't anything perfect. We'll never see a perfect operating system. And we have this additional, because we use it all the time, seeing things that, hey, maybe it's missing. And you probably more so because you're in multiple systems on a regular basis. So what do you feel right now today that Linux is missing?
All right. So my number one thing that I wish it had, and it's not the fault of Linux. It's the fault of third-party application peoples. So my number one issue that I have today is that I have to jump into another machine to be able to use our remote management software. It's called Splashtop. I've tried installing it in Linux using Wine and some other trickery because it's worked for other people. I can't get it to work.
Yeah.
And I've done many things. And right now I think I may have messed it up at this point, but I should try again. I need to be, but anyway, I just wish it was easy for me to be able to go to, the provider that we use this. I forget what there's actually a name for this kind of provider. Atera is the company. And so they have this place you can go to, like this site you can go into. I can find any computer. And so no matter where they are, it'll seek them out, and I can connect to the computer remotely, so long as they're on the internet, and be able to administer, fix anything that they have. I have had fun situations where I got a call at like 8:00 at night and someone says, I can't, my computer will not log into anything. And then I said, okay, all right, well, let me check it out. And so I went to check things out and so is it online? There's a pregnant pause, and goes, well, I had an airplane mode. Sorry about that.
That still fixes the problem, though, right?
It did. He goes, I'm so sorry to call you. It was like right before the snow was hitting. He says, I couldn't get a hold of the other guy. And I said, no, that's fine. Glad I was able to help you out. So right. If I could get Splashtop working seamlessly in Linux, that would be a huge win. So like right now, Atera was an option, or I'm sorry, AnyDesk was an option with Atera, but we got some sort of cybersecurity notice, and they basically advised us to remove it off of every machine they have, and they're not going to actually offer Atera anymore. So it was like a big red thing that popped up and said, get it off your system. And because where I work is under constant cyber threat, I said my tinfoil hat was tingling, like my spider senses.
Just remove it.
Yep, just gonna get rid of it. So I did have it on my, actually had it on my Linux system and on my my workstation at work, and so I just got rid of both of them. But anyway, maybe hopefully AnyDesk will can recover from that, and it'll be good to go in the future, or who knows, whatever happens.
Whatever they've got going on, be able to fix it, and then have that be an option again. Yeah.
Yep. And then another thing that would be really helpful is if I had better drop-in Windows application compatibility. Again, this is not the fault of Linux. I just wish there was some way of handling this, and I've tried to get this to work, but something called XProtect. It's this camera software, so we have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of cameras, and so sometimes I have to review footage when something happens, or if I want to find out who's got a naughty host name on their cell phone, I can better track them and find out who they are. Yeah. And it's actually pretty funny. I may have messed with them a little bit, but they probably didn't even notice. Anyway, so because I can track when they're going from one access point to another, and then I can go to the corresponding cameras in the area, and I could find out who it was. It took me a while because they usually travel in groups, and then that fun. But anyway,
right. So then you could pinpoint it to a group of people, but struggling to get that one person.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Anyway, so I did have fun with that one time, and I did mess with them just a little bit. I was actually going to move them on a separate subnet, and then just like bandwidth limit them like really, really heavy, like really harshly. But I didn't end up doing that. I thought, I just kicked them off the network a few times just because. Anyway, so that'd be compatibility with that camera software would be great. I can maybe I can get it to work at some point in time. There's probably some way to get it to work, but just it was such, I can only invest so much time in like a pet project like that. That's not what's only benefiting me. I got to work on things that benefit everybody because there's too many of those. So I need to not waste time.
Right. But I think that's a situation that a lot of us run into who use Linux on a daily basis, right? It's our preferred platform. We get so much done in it, whether it's play or work. But then you run into those times where you really need this piece of additional software. And that is something that I've seen as I'm using DaVinci. Yes, DaVinci works on Linux. I have it working pretty flawlessly right now on Ubuntu Studio. But there are plugins from major plugin makers, mainly for sound and some different video and whatever plugins, where you need to install their package, their exe package or their Mac package in order to then add those additional add-ins. I have been told a way to do a workaround on the sound stuff, and it basically you're running another computer on the side that is administering those audio corrections. So there are some from Waves that I have really, really liked in the past, and I would like to be able to use again. One that helps with echoing, one that helps with voice clarity, and then a vocal writer, which are really nice. And if I could use them on my Linux platform, I'm more than willing to pay for them, but I don't want to have this additional package. And I've tried to look, can you get it to run on Linux in a wine situation or in bottles, something like that. And the compatibility it isn't great. And it's frustrating to run into those times that I need this software for work, or I would love to have this software for play. This would make my VR, whatever, work better, and just not being able to implement those packages in general because of the format.
Right. Yeah, I can see why that'd be frustrating. I'm actually wondering how. When you look at the status of game compatibility running Windows games and Linux, it seems like that would be a more complicated task than an audio plugin, but
right.
What do I know?
Right, and in this case, it's because they have, especially for Waves, you're not installing anything. You don't get the package and then install that plugin itself. You need their proprietary application that then goes ahead and installs those plugins, which is a pain. And it's really, really hard to find audio plugins for DaVinci that isn't Waves. I've struggled. I've really, really looked, and it seems like everyone that I'm finding, they have the same issue. And Waves is good. What they make, those plugins they make are good quality. They work really, really well. And so knowing that Linux itself, DaVinci runs on Linux, is kind of frustrating that some of those companies aren't catering to that. I have found some plugins that work, and I will plug the plugins that I do use that I can use on Linux, no problem. It doesn't matter what system you're running, they install just fine, and I use them on a show basis. Every show that I edit, I use these additional plugins mainly for speed and just making things look good quickly. So I will plug those plugins in the show notes. But yeah,
good.
You would think that applications would be easier to get to run where we already have that compatibility layer, and it still seems to be a struggle. Yeah.
Yeah, that almost seems like It's like they're almost making it unnecessarily complicated, and like for what benefit and to whom. Mm-hmm. Seems weird. It's like how you're benefiting the user by your unnecessary complications of things. But.
Right. Exactly. And something that I would love easier is the speech to text. So you talk into your application and it types things out. I have a kid that relies on speech to text for getting a good chunk of his schoolwork done. I am one of those people that, especially with the ADHD and everything going on, if I'm sending a message to a friend and it's long or whatever, I'd actually rather just speak it than typing it out, especially if it's on a phone. But that's a whole different story. I don't know a whole lot of people that actually enjoy like typing long messages on a phone.
Only people who are probably certifiable.
Right. Yes.
But if you like
absolutely.
it, I'm not making a judgment call. I'm just saying there's a chance it's certifiable.
But so I definitely prefer it myself. And I know in watching some of the episodes of DL where they're really focusing on accessibility and the like, that there are some options out there, but it seems like you have to jump through multiple hoops in order to get them installed and get them fully set up and working. And I would love it if there was just a quick, easy to install, easy to set up speech to text functionality. Because right now my son is using that on Linux, but of course it's in Chrome and using Google Drive. And I want to break away from that. I don't want to be relied on something like that. And I would love it if it was an application that didn't have to be connected to the internet all the time. Say we're away. Yes, we did recently switch phone companies, and with the plan that we have right now, if we need to, we can hotspot. So we can do that. It is an option, but I don't want to rely on that. And it's probably it's a positive and negative with so many applications that are now inside a web browser. Yay, it doesn't matter what system I'm running, but boo, if my internet goes out, sometimes I can't access that application. I can't use it. I've had issues with Photopea. That I'm finally getting done with the show. It's been a long time since it's been an issue, but I'm finally getting done with the show. It's like midnight, 2 a.m. All I want to do is get the stupid thumbnail done, and I'm having issues getting the web page to load. And I'm like, I just want to go to bed. I just want to go to bed. Okay, Can you load and let me get this done?
Yep, I get it. Mm-hmm. I have that as an issue, not because I'm using web-based stuff, but because I'm often VPN'd into a particular system and then my internet starts to flake. What's really bad is, can't stay on topic here, is when my internet flakes and then, so on a Windows machine, the VPN client will just quit. Yeah. It'll just nicely quit. Oh. Yeah, which is nice. Actually, which is good. My network manager in Plasma will tenaciously try and reconnect, which will actually cause me to be locked out. So I have to go my backdoor way of getting into things, and it's a mess. So, yay, it tries to stay connected, but boo, it triggers things. So
additional bit of a struggle. Right now, I think my internet's doing very good if we're sidetracking on a sidetrack. At the same time we're recording this episode, I have a child playing Lethal Company, which is an online multiplayer game, and it seems to be doing just fine. Go Starlink.
So for another show, we're going to talk about Starlink, and because we're actually not me here at my house, but for one of the plants looking at Starlink as a backup, but that's for another show. Oh, so to sidetrack on your sidetrack to on your sidetrack, now we're on a dirt road. So
if we're going to veer off that 2-track dirt road and go onto like a 1-track little game trail, I've actually been thinking about having I've actually been thinking about having a bonded network. So for the most part, Starlink is doing fantastic. I can't get T-Mobile home where I am, but I can get T-Mobile Business, which it would be for business altogether. And it would be nice at those times that like satellites start to move away, that it can back up with another internet connection. So I've actually thought about having Starlink and T-Mobile Business bonded at the house for when I'm doing those really, really large file uploads. But I don't know. Like, I'm not sure if I need to go ahead and get the additional equipment. I know there's some services that allow you to do that. And really, it's my desktop where that would be most mandatory. Like, the rest of the house doesn't need it. But then at the same time, do I want to spend money on additional services, on additional hardware? And then you have one more mobile bill a month. So I guess if I was making more editing, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But I'm like, hey, is that an expense that I want? It would definitely be a time saver, but is that worth the additional money that would have to be paid out in order to make that happen?
Yeah. So for you, not sure. For my situation, it can come into being down an hour can cost like 6 figures. So
yeah. For the business side, for a larger business like that, without a doubt, I can see that having a backup system like that or a bonded network would be, without a doubt, a plus. But as a sole proprietor who, I do spend a lot of time at my desk, but to be fair, I spend more hours doing schoolwork and robotics overall. Like, income wise, I just don't know that it pencils out for that extra $50 a month additional.
I get it.
Yeah.
Additional, because it's like additional what? Yeah.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm tracking. I understand. Got it. So I only have like 2 other things really. So we actually talked about CAD in the past.
Yes.
I was constantly complaining, but I'm actually happy now. I'm in a place now with CAD, although it's not perfect.
Are you still using Onshape?
I am.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm still very happy with that, and I haven't actually had I got a project that I will be working on here shortly, but it should have been done in December. But I keep saying I'm going to get to it. 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 I'm going to get to it.
It keeps getting pushed back. So I think I have the option in order to get the educational license for Onshape because of the time and stuff that I'm doing with the different robotics teams. And I think I am going to pursue that because it would be nice to be able to have the kids be able to do whatever they're building for robotics on there and not necessarily have all of their revisions in the open. So if they're sharing a finished project, they're sharing a finished project, but there are teams that have been known to just like take somebody else's idea, make no changes to it, and use it on their robot like it was theirs. And that's what we don't want.
I can see that. I think about that too, because like, I have lots of revisions or lots of just like cruft that I put out there. And I think if I were doing something commercially with it, I would probably pay for it, but I'd have to really actually be making money off of it before I'd really want to pay for it.
Right, because it's way too expensive to just have the plain old license. I've looked at it, and there's no way. That's not happening. The only way I would be able to have it is with that educator's license in order to make that work. And it's not that we're unwilling to share some of those files and solutions. It's just the people that are taking those files and solutions and claiming them as theirs where the frustration is, right?
It might be hard to like find them though anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've never really dug into Onshape to see. And it's one of those things that, hey, I need to go through and finish learning this and play with some CAD more myself. But I just keep running out of time. I don't have enough hours in the day. Like Thursday this week, co-op starts back up. I'll leave the house at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I probably won't get back home till like 10:30-ish.
It's a long time. That's a long time. Yeah.
It's a long day. It's definitely a long day. And that's with all 4 kids with me. So it's a long day for all of us.
Yeah. I have some days like that where I don't. Actually, today is one of those days when it's like I start my day at about 5:30 in the morning, and I have not had okay. So I did do the wrong thing, and before coming out here, I grabbed a donut.
Oops.
So
but
I haven't actually.
Good, right?
It was so good. It was so good when it hit the lips and some milk. I was like a child, but like I was so busy today I didn't have time for lunch. I had coffee. I grabbed like a meat stick out of the cabinet at work, and that was what I had today. And
so I actually have some yogurts I need to share with you, and I like them because they're like no added sugar and they're very high in protein. And right now that's my go-to. Like I'm busy and I need something, so I'll share those with you after the show.
Cool, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And that's it. I totally lost what we were talking about. Oh, Linuxy stuff. So
yes.
Another time we'll probably talk Wayland because everyone's talking about Wayland these days, and so I guess we may as well jump on. But I have one issue with Wayland that's just kind of tripping me up a little bit, and that's virtual KVM on Wayland. So like I used Barrier or Synergy before. Can't do that. Worked on Linux, which does work on Linux, just not on Wayland. And I don't know why, because there's so many other mouse control things that do work. So I'm sure they'll get it worked out.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll get it worked out. But, and then I think the one last thing that I really, like, this would be like the icing on the cake, or maybe like a little bit of the frost, like little sprinkles on the icing on the cake, would be being able to have seamless integration with Android apps. Now, I did play with something called Waydroid, and it was very close to being everything that I hoped it would be. So close, and I think it'll get there. And I actually have an open dialogue now with the developer, one of the developers of it, and so we're gonna have a talk at some point in time. Maybe I'll
that's cool. So were you using Waydroid on BlendOS?
No, I was using it actually on Ubuntu because I couldn't get it to successfully run on OpenSUSE.
Okay.
So the idea is I can run. So
that was another issue that you were having with it, is it not running in your preferred distro?
Right. But it's okay. I get it. You can only target so many things. OpenSUSE is kind of moving targets, a little bit squirrely. I get it. So there's probably, if I understood the parts of it better, maybe I could put it together and make it work, you know? So I don't understand the parts fully, but I'll get there. So I'm gonna have a conversation with him. We started talking over Twitter X, and so I'm going to probably, well, I didn't have time today, but I will connect with him and try to understand the project a little bit better. But anyway, so I think that, you know, if like Waydroid also requires Wayland, but having that work where I can just call up specific apps, like not games. I don't care about games. I don't care about a lot of things, but like specific, like like my solar panel battery thing, it is an Android app.
Oh, okay.
And there is not a web client I can go to. So it'd be nice if I could just launch that app on my computer, because I don't like the phone. I'm a Gen Xer. I don't like my phone. What can I say?
And I actually do very little on my phone like that. I don't like to do a whole lot of work stuff on my phone. What do I use it for? I use it for calls. I do use it for messaging. Yes, I'm one of those people that do use my cell phone for calls. There is a lot of messaging that I use it for. Checking email, not really responding to emails. If I need to sit down and write an email, I like a keyboard. So it's mostly for checking things, and I'm not super big on social media. I haven't even been checking Mastodon like I should lately. I don't do like the scrolling behaviors, whatever. And I am a millennial. I'm inside that age bracket, and I'm one of the few that like. Yeah, no, I use my phone the most for listening to audiobooks and stuff. Like that's what that device is for me. It's a portable music book machine.
Yeah, I would say I probably use my phone most as an iPod.
Yeah.
Podcasts.
Exactly.
Music. But outside of that, and pictures. And depositing
pictures, it does
checks.
really need a good camera on it. I actually pre-ordered a OnePlus 12, so I'm pretty excited about that. I'm excited for that to be here. Right now it's saying February 13th is when it's supposed to arrive. I've really enjoyed my OnePlus 9 over here. That yes, it does have a cracked screen, but that's just the screen protector, not the screen itself. I'm a little bummed though, because it looks like dbrand stopped making skins for them, and this is a dbrand skin that has been on here since the day I got it. So this dbrand skin is like 3 years old. It still looks absolutely amazing. Of course, it's been in a clear case, but I love it, and I wanted a new one for my new phone, and I'm super bummed they don't seem to make them for them anymore. They didn't make one for the 11. I don't see any on there for the 12. So if you know another really good place to get high quality skins for the phone, let me know. Yeah.
Hey,
there's another off track.
Yeah.
So this one's clear, right? I've had a clear case on it, so you could actually see the skin.
Oh, I gotcha. Gotcha.
But yeah, because it has to have a case too, right? I am so clumsy. Obviously, you're seeing the cracks and like chips in this screen. I'm clumsy enough. It has to have a case on it, but it's nice when I could layer that. That's an additional layer of protection on it from dirt or whatever that gets in it. And I'd liked this wood look. And yeah, there isn't anymore. I actually wanted one of the skins for the teardown. There's a really awesome channel, I think Jerry Rigged, something like that, on YouTube, where he does teardowns of all different kinds of devices, and he's worked with dbrand, so you can get skins that you're actually seeing the internals of the device with the skin. Yeah, I was like, I want one of those for this.
I also watched apparently there's a lawsuit going on with somebody else he's
that's
basically
been
an artist.
Stealing their skins. Yeah. Yeah, they put a lot of work into them, very, very high resolution images, and I'm super bummed. I wanted one for my upcoming phone, but no.
Maybe you just have to ask them nicely.
Right? Maybe put in a special request.
Yeah, they might just do it. Like, oh, well, Wendy from Linux Out Loud, of course, we got to do it now. It's
right. Yeah. The show is just so popular that
so huge, so huge.
To be able to get that kind of feedback from it.
And I have probably one for Matt. He's not here, so I'll speak for him, if I may.
Okay, perfect.
Anti-cheat stuff in Linux for games. That it all just worked.
Yeah.
Not saying that it worked the same way, but that it just worked so you can do the network play. And maybe Matt wouldn't say that, but I'm going to say it for him, because then all that
he might actually say that. I know there has been some improvements in the last couple of years with the anti-cheat, but it needs to be implemented from the developer in order to get all of that put in. And so some places it does work, some places and it doesn't work. And yeah, it would be nice if that was seamless across multiple games. I know, I think it's even Among Us, I've been kicked out of the server or something for things, which is really weird. I think one of their racing games or something, we've been banned as far as like multiplayer goes. And
weird.
We didn't do anything. We haven't been cheating. So yeah, having that work, I get that. And I definitely think that in Matt's case, it would without a doubt be something gaming related or GUI related. Yeah, either one of those. That would be Matt for sure.
Yep. Yeah, he wishes he didn't have to think when using Linux. I think it might be his so he can do Linux like the rest of his life.
do that. That'd be his forte.
I don't have to think in life or in Linux. Yeah.
So you end up running quite a bit of distributions, both for testing that you're doing on Linux Out Loud. You've got some other stuff that you're running that you want to be able to access from your OpenSUSE system. And that's where Distrobox comes in?
Yes. So one of the things that Waynergy kind of sent me down was, can I run it in Distrobox on my OpenSUSE machine? So just run it inside. The short answer is no. But what it did do is send me down a whole new bunny trail of like, wow, I can run various applications on my system as though they were native, and I can call them up from my menu, but have them be a completely different distribution. And they actually can all run seamlessly, and I wouldn't even know. So it was really very cool. So, every distribution kind of has an application that maybe works better for it than another. Now, although I would say things like Flatpak have kind of like diminished some of that.
Right.
But there are sometimes applications that aren't built flat, that don't have a Flatpak, don't have a snap, or maybe you want a certain kind of application from, or a certain collection of applications based, maybe. So maybe like, let's say you like how a collection of applications work from Debian 11 or something like that, or Debian 12 or whatever you're thinking, or a specific version of Ubuntu. You could put that together and then install that and have that run on your system. Now, I think the idea of this is it will work really well with immutable operating systems because
Right.
you're installing applications not on your core system, but on a container in your user land space. And you don't have from what I understand, there is no performance penalty in doing this either. So that's also very cool. And then the other thing too is like, well, maybe actually what I really want to do is I want to install these various applications on OpenSUSE, but I don't want to put them on my core system. I want them in a container so that I'm not cluttering up my core system with all these other different, the way I kind of weave things together using OBS, not the Studio, but OBS, the OpenSUSE build service. So I have these different, like community repositories. I can pull all these community repositories together in one container for all my extra applications that, they're not critical, but I do want them running. So things like, as silly as it may sound, I still use a graphing calculator from 1998. I used it today. I use it almost every day. And sometimes I want to get applications on here. I want to be able to connect it. And so I need to have, there's an application called TLIP. What's it? TILIP? TILP. So I can transfer files to this or transfer things off of that and so forth. I don't do that all that often, but I want to have that capability. So I have it installed on my machine. But in order to do that, I had to install some community repositories on there or one community repository. And so when I go to do updates on my system, it's automatically always pulling from that. And it's like, well, maybe I don't really want, that's an extra step that that's required now when I do an update. So I'm thinking, so I thought I could move all those things to a Distrobox container, all my extra malarkey that I have to weave together in that container so I don't clutter up my core system. And that makes my core system less inclined to break. So that's kind of what more or less what I'm looking at. So like something like Kdenlive, Live, no, it's in the official repository. Anything in the official repository, I'm not going to put in there. But anything from like additional repositories and not the codecs, but anything like outside of like maybe a couple of different additional repositories, I'll move all those to Distrobox, and then I just have a simpler installation of Linux.
Right, and containerized. So aren't you running Tumbleweed?
Yes.
So yours is constantly updating. But if you were on something like Leap, or if you're doing something like Fedora where it's time to update, then you'll potentially have less issues when you go to update, because it's not like, hey, we've got a conflict with these packages, or that doesn't work because you've got them containerized inside of Distrobox.
Correct. So instead I have to wait a long time for it to scan this repository, then this repository, then this repository, then this repository.
Yeah.
So I have a longer process right now, but now I can just like move those off and then not worry about it.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely awesome. I know I've played with it a little bit when I have played with BlendOS, and it's one of the ways I've heard as a good way to install DaVinci on some Linux systems. I never got it to work really well in Distrobox. The last time I tried on one, there was incompatibility with the kernel that I was using on the system, and so that's where it kind of kicked and threw a little bit of fit, because I was trying to get those proprietary AMD drivers installed, and it was like, hey, wait a minute, we don't like that. So I would love to play with it some more on some different systems and stuff. Right now I need another extra drive so I can just have a play drive, leave my system that works alone, and then jump onto another one, either playing with BlendOS some more or Distrobox or whatever. Like, I don't want to add a bunch of cruft to a system and then decide that I don't want it, and you gotta uninstall and move stuff around, or make sure you get all of those pulled off the system. So I don't know. I need a playground. I do like that idea. I've heard good things about it, so I'm glad that you are having good luck with it and find some positives in using it. I was just thinking it's a really good way to potentially install stuff from the AUR.
Oh, right.
So those kind of things are in a sandboxed location.
I didn't even think of that, but that's a great idea.
It's one of those. It's one of those ways that you can have a system break. It's one of the causes that I've had issues with Garuda or Manjaro in the past. Is I've installed this thing from the AUR, and then it's supposed to go to update, and then I've got, hey, this is newer than what's over here, and things not wanting to update, and it causes issues with updates altogether. So then you either got to like dive into it and say, yes, update this, and then it potentially breaks that. If you can just throw it in Distrobox, then you can have your cake and eat it too. You can have your donut and eat it too.
And glass of milk.
And your glass of milk, yes. Yes, very much. And enjoy them both.
I can't believe I admitted that for the world. So ashamed. So Wendy, I understand you got yourself a new monitor arm. So that means are you expanding your array of monitors?
Well, no, I have 4 because I got this one that's over here for Christmas this year. And they're in
monitor.
An okay for configuration. Yes, I got a Christmas monitor, and they're in an okay configuration. So the top one here is actually mounted on the wall. So when I drop my desk, then it's sitting up too high. And because the other 3 monitors on stands, then I feel like I'm looking down. I'm doing this while I'm working, and it's been really hard on my neck. I actually had to see the chiropractor recently because it was all out. And so when I'm looking at my main monitor, I want it to be straight across, right? I want to be looking up at my monitor and none of that. So I went ahead and ordered a quad monitor stand. It'll hold all 4 monitors, so 3 across the bottom and 1 at the top. Looking at the configuration of these, there's actually someone who had an ultra wide across the bottom as their 1 monitor, and then had the 3 smaller monitors across the top, which was totally cool. Like,
that's really cool.
An absolute excellent way to do that. If I had an ultra wide, then I would definitely be doing that. But I'm using all 4 monitors. I will.
I want to see that. I love crazy monitors.
I will have to get that pulled up, but it was awesome. I absolutely loved the way that was set up. And so that's what I'm doing after the show. The monitor arm arrived, but I didn't have time to take everything apart on my desk, set up the monitor arm, get everything reconfigured with camera and all the like before this show. So this is the last time that I'm doing the show with the 3 monitors on the desk and the 1 up above. After this, everything's getting torn apart, and I'm putting together this monitor stand. I'm a little worried that based on how those arms are supposed to go, because it can support up to 32-inch monitors, that I may have to move my desk more from the wall. I might have to do a little bit more office desk room rearranging in order to get everything to fit properly. But we'll see how that goes. I'll start putting the monitor together, putting the arm together, and then go from there. The other really cool thing that I found that was actually made by the same company is it is a tray, a shelf that actually gets mounted at the same time with that vase mount. So the shelf goes sandwiched in there with the vase mount. And this one in particular is to be used for media gear. So I can actually mount my camera directly to it. I use a secondary monitor, the Ninja Inferno. So it's an older model. So my camera goes into the Ninja Inferno, and then from there it goes into an Atomos little whatever card that to convert it in order to take that feed into the computer. That's what I'm using right now. So I can actually mount that itself onto that one little shelf, so that gets multiple things up off my desk. I found other shelves from that same company that also mount kind of that way in between, sandwiched in the Vesa, and I wanted to make sure that this setup is working, and I might get some additional ones to go up above or down below to get more of the stuff that has to be here, like my SD card reader, where my XLR microphone plugs in, get them picked up so I've got more actual usable desk space, because right now I feel like I have this massive desk and like almost none of the surface is usable.
That's a really great idea. I didn't even know such things existed. I never even thought to look for such things.
Right.
Probably like,
and it just happened to come up in my feed. And then after I saw that, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And started doing an actual search for things like that. Mm-hmm. So suggestions when buying things can be nice, because I did go ahead and purchase one. I think it's going to be a benefit to the overall construction and may end up adding more Vesa mount shelves at the same time for the whole configuration.
I have to say, I was thinking, so something between my old house and the house I have now, my previous home and this home, is I had my kitchen system mounted above my sink, like off the counter, so it was not on the counter at all.
Oh, yeah.
And this house, I can't do that. So the window's different. There's a light in the way. And so I thought many times that, I mean, the cabinets are so nice in this house. Like, I don't want to drill into the side of a cabinet to put a stinking computer up. I mean,
right?
I don't do that. And, I mean, I guess maybe I could do like above the window, but then I have to remove a light, which I guess I could do that too. But I'm like,
yeah,
I like the kitchen the way it is, and I don't like where the monitor is or the all-in-one computer. And it'd be really nice if I could VESA mount the whole computer up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it really would be. It would be. Right now, our kitchen system isn't up and running at the moment because I stole the one monitor off of that system to give me 3. When I got this monitor for Christmas, the kids are like, hey, we get the kitchen system back. And I was like, no, I actually want all 4 of these monitors in order to make things work. So I do need to get that back up and running. But it was just sitting on the counter, and I didn't really like that because it's on the same counter as the coffee pot, and other things happen, and so spills happen. And I would love to have that all mounted underneath the cabinets in general in order to make that all work, fit properly, make it cleaner, not be worried about, hey, somebody didn't put the one little thing on top of the coffee pot, and now there's water running across the counter. Save the keyboard.
The keyboard's floating away.
Yeah, exactly. So, we'll see. I am super excited about this one. I can't wait to get it set up. Instructions look like they're pretty easy. I think the biggest issue is getting everything that's up here moved off of it and just figuring out where it's all going to go. So hopefully I will have a better camera position than I've got right now, because I'm looking at you, Nate, but I'm looking at you on this screen, but my camera's over here. So it doesn't look like I'm looking at you all the time, even though I am. So I would like to have that fixed, adjusted.
From my perspective, you're actually looking at me this way, so it works out fine.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah. Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect. Absolutely. But it should be a little different this time. It's kind of about the same camera angle that I had last week, because you can see my Starlink router thing right over here. Sweet. I did add a red accent light this time, a little bit more time to get things set up and arranged before we go, some time to think about it, but we'll see how it comes together. I'm pretty excited. I might share a picture, I might not. It just depends on how well the cable management goes and if I'm really embarrassed about the cable management.
Cable management's kind of it's about the journey, not the destination.
There you go. It's about the journey, not the destination, and I will be 100% upfront that I suck at cable management. There you go.
I could actually go on a bunny trail on that, what I did in my kitchen, my living room, because it's almost perfect, but that's another time.
Almost perfect.
Almost perfect.
Now it's your turn to toss in your 2 cents on today's topics. Hit the discourse form. Drop us a line under this video or on the contact form by visiting tuxdigital.com/contact. If you'd like to hang out with us on our preferred social media, and hopefully we check those, I'm sorry about that. Sometimes it takes us a little bit to get to them. See the links in the bottom of the show description. Find other great shows like Fit and Fueled, Destination Linux, Linux Saloon. You can see Nate some more at tuxdigital.com. Show off your love for your favorite podcasts and shows by visiting the Tux Digital merch store. Grab yourself some awesome swag like the Gamer-Centric I Paused My Game to Be Here. I bet Matt is wearing one right now.
But he didn't pause his game to be here.
No, he didn't pause his game to be here. Gosh dang him. I hope it's a fun game. I hope he hits some awesome levels or whatever he's doing.
I hope it's Among Us.
Out. That would be absolutely fantastic.
He's a closet Among Us player.
He is, yes, under a different name. Totally different name. He doesn't use his regular name because he can't let people know that he actually likes Among Us.
Exactly.
Or you can join hashtag... What was that?
Let's just go with that story. He's got an alter ego.
and amongst alter ego.
Exactly.
So then you can join hashtag Team Wendy with some sinister Wendy swag. I think we need some sinister Nate swag while we're along those lines.
Actually, I was thinking something like, I have an almost unhealthy obsession with something line,
You know, my daughter and I have actually thought about making you that shirt and sending it to you.
Oh, that'd be cool. Because right now I have an almost unhealthy obsession with, of course, OpenSUSE. Right now, it's the framework, almost unhealthy obsession. And I'm imposing on other... That one I'm actually imposing on other people, though. So this might be worse.
But I don't blame you. I would love to have a framework. I've actually spec'd one out multiple times and been like, I'd love to hit that buy button. Gosh dang it, I need a new car.
Yeah, that's probably more important.
Yeah, a little bit more important. As always, we thank you for joining us. We'll be back next time with another awesome episode of Linux Out Loud. Until then, keep the banter friendly, the conversation somewhere on topic, and have fun doing it.
I mean, like, topic is relative, I mean, it was all tech and Linuxy related. It's not like we talked about...
I mean, we're going from one thing to another. Like, there is a trail. You can follow the breadcrumbs in order to get to it. It's all somewhat related as we go from one to another. It's not full ADHD where we're jumping to completely different topics, right?
Right, exactly, yeah.